All right. What's up, y'all? I am Joey Womack, founder and CEO of Goodie Nation, and you all are in for an absolute treat. I got three of my best friends in the world with me today for a super cool conversation about the modern tech stack, right? The modern tech stack for e-commerce, D2C, CPG brands. And so we're going to talk about the tools, the processes, the latest things you need to know as a founder of one of these brands so that you can achieve your potential and ultimately succeed, right? And so we're going to get to some intros and origin stories, a series of questions for the panelists, but a little bit of logistics before we begin. Feel free to drop any questions you may have in chat. You should also follow us at Goodie Nation on LinkedIn and also YouTube. But again, feel free to drop any questions like that in chat. We'll try to get around to them as well. And so it's going to be action packed hour, quite honestly. Lots of really, really good information. So let's lock in. Let's use this as an opportunity to get better and let's outwork yesterday, y'all. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to our panelists. We're going to go Peter, then Sequoia, and then Tope, and then we'll get to the questions. So Pete, kick it over to you.
Yep. Hey, everybody. I'm Peter Salib. I'm based in New Jersey. I'm a partner manager with SHOPLINE. SHOPLINE is an e-commerce platform, over 2,000 employees, over 600,000 brands that built their website on SHOPLINE to sell directly to consumers via their website. And it's a unified platform. So we have social commerce, we have POS, marketplace connections, right? So we're really able to power international cross-border brands, omni-channel brands selling across multiple channels. And we have an app store with over 100 of our own apps and some really great third-party apps like Lexore Spark and coming soon, Reflekt Me from Tope. So really excited to kind of share with you what a tech stack looks like in the modern age and what does the ecosystem look like on the SHOPLINE side. And really happy to be hosting this with Goodie Nation, who actually brought us all together. I met Lexore Spark and Reflekt Me. It's been a really great pleasure. So I'm excited to dive into e-commerce with you all today. Thank you.
Awesome. Sequoia, I will kick it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So I'm Sequoia Balaja. I am the co-founder and CEO of Lexore Spark. So we are a co-created platform, co-created commerce. So it allows you to create with your audience and get their feedback. I started my career as a commercial music video director, working with some of the biggest brands in the world. And we initially started Lexore because it was a birth out of just demand. There was a lot of marketing going on. We were doing a lot of video production and trying to get brands customers. And we said, hey, there's a better way to do this. And being a technologist and understanding from the tech perspective, we always test, we always validate, we always iterate, and we're very, very close to our customer. How do we get that into consumer brands' hands? And that's essentially how Lexore Spark started.
Amazing. Tope.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Tope Mitchell. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Reflekt Me. So we're an enterprise platform bringing the fun of TikTok to product pages for less than Google ads. We all love Google, but for less than Google ads and with higher conversion rates than Instagram. So we worked with Levi's in the US and Europe. We launched a Shopify app and we're backed by Techstars, AWS, and Backstage Capital, to name a few, and XRC Ventures as well. So I'm a sociologist turned tech founder. I've spent my career studying how people move through the world and how identity shapes behavior, how cultural storytelling shapes belonging, and how representation shapes trust. So when I looked at e-commerce through that sociological lens, I saw a problem that these like digital shelves weren't built for real people. And commerce was just kind of one note, the same size, the same height, the same hair texture. While the average American woman is a size 14, they were only seeing themselves in 2% of images when they were shopping online. So that was a huge invisible majority that was being left out. And so as a mother and as a sociologist, I really, actually, when I started Reflekt Me, I didn't sleep for 3 months because I was just like so obsessed with the possibility of being able to change the world for my children and for the world that I live in. So thank you for the opportunity, and also love Goodie Nation.
There it is. There it is. Okay, it's just a little bit of background in terms of even how we got here. So both Tope and Sequoia are part of our founder program, founder community here in Goodie Nation. Peter with SHOPLINE is coming in as a recent partner. And we'll talk about the opportunities around grants for CPG brands, DTC startups, toward the end. And so we have this culture at Goodie Nation we call being intentionally good. Essentially, it means taking the extra step, going the extra mile to kind of help out your fellow human being, quite honestly. And so every year we have what we call the Intentionally Good Summit for select members of our community. Pete traveled down to Atlanta for our Atlanta version a few months ago. And so, we make the connections there. And also Sequoia participated in one of our industry roundtables we have around e-commerce space. So they made the connection. So again, this is how connections work, right? Relationships do matter in the innovation economy. And this is a perfect example of the power of being intentional. So let's get to the first set of questions. I'm actually going to ask this to everybody, starting with Pete. We're going to start with trends and what we see happening, right? So just a little bit of context of why I'm asking this particular question. I believe and we believe at Goodie Nation that information or access to information is a game changer, right? So when you have access to what's kind of coming down the pike, you can make the right strategic decisions for your company and your life, quite honestly. And so let's talk about, what's kind of happening currently when it comes to the modern commerce tech stack. So Pete, for you, from what you've seen, how do you see it's evolved over the last few years, and what shifts do you see coming in 2026?
Yeah, absolutely. So I probably should have mentioned this during my intro, but it actually applies here and leads into things quite well. So originally in the e-commerce world, I come from the product launch and product marketing space. So I worked with over 650 brands to drive traffic to their website via different marketing activities. And so the impact of these marketing campaigns that we're doing, they were always different. And what we realized, besides the audiences and the products and everything, what really came down to it was the website. Is it optimized for conversion? Is it a smooth checkout flow? Do you have win-back campaigns in place? Do you have abandoned cart flows in place? Right? Because it's not just somebody goes to your website for the very first time, checks out with a very high or average order of, a high order of value. Right? It's not like that. There's touch points, right? Your brand needs to be exposed to a consumer around 7 times before this consumer has decided to purchase from your product and be a conversion, right, from your marketing. So it was at that stage when I started, needing to understand the website infrastructure of a lot of the brands that we were marketing and promoting, because of the impact of the marketing was heavily tied to the foundation of the website and also the full marketing stack at play at large. So for the tech stack, a lot of the founders had never even heard abandoned cart, right? They didn't even know what that meant when we would bring it up, right? They didn't know that there were all these automations. They were very kind of like a lot of like level 1 type of operations where it's just like, you sign up for a platform, whether it's WooCommerce, SHOPLINE, or Shopify. You set up the account, right? They're all pretty quick spin up to store type things. So you could launch a store in like 2 weeks. Right, that's great, and somebody can go to your website and check out. And so like that is kind of the main foundation. But there's a reason Shopify has over 10,000 apps in the App Store. And so over the years, you've just seen all types of companies and groups develop apps for e-commerce brands across all types of different categories. And so one of the trends I'm seeing lately is, in general, AI everything. Right. So now the next generation of disruptor e-commerce apps, they're going to be AI enabled natively. Right. And so that's really the next frontier of e-commerce and where it's going. It's all going to be agentic led, automatic, workflows for completing purchases with, just full agents. and everything, as well as from the discovery side, from the marketing side. AI is going to penetrate kind of all these categories. But overall, the brands have caught, wind of this. And so they're trying all the different apps. And so what happens is there are brands out there that are using like over 50 apps on their platform. And so that's cool. They try, they install, they uninstall, they try something new, but that actually slows down your website quite a bit. There's a lot of like dead code that stays in your website, data structure, even after you uninstall an app. And so these things slow down the website in terms of site speed and site performance, latency, and different things. And site speed is one of the big factors into conversion and customer experience, user experience for the website. If I go to your website and it's not loading quickly, I'm gone, right? So these are all tied to business impact. So brands have started to prioritize, I believe, the right metrics, right? Lifetime value, average order value, all of these different things, site speed, right? Retention. These are the things that matter more, and they're looking for apps that support those initiatives. That's some of the trends that I see.
Amazing, 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 amazing. Sequoia, I want to kick it over to you. What have you seen? What have you seen kind of happen in the last few years, and where do you see this thing going?
Yeah, so I think what initially happened in the beginning is we were focused on driving traffic to the site, whereas now it's literally speed to solution. So meeting the customer where they are. So if you look at like TikTok Shop and people being online, I think Shopline does a really good job of integration, right? You're seeing customers shopping real time, they're buying, and those purchases are being converted to the website in terms of tracking the metrics and revenue, but they're not necessarily having to go and shop there. So how fast can you get the solution in front of the customer and actually transact in that volume and speed to solution is something that I'm seeing a lot of. The other thing is too, like Pete was saying, there's been so many tools, you're testing them, you're trying them out, but it really is about the customer at the end of the day. You have a product that you ultimately want to sell, and how do you get that customer to purchase really, really fast? So if we think about AI has been around for a very long time. So we're just now seeing it from the consumer's perspective. And if we think about it in terms of integration, how do we have these tools like your Shoplines, like your Lexores, where we're actually meeting you where you're purchasing and then being able to transact there? And then our tool is just supporting that from an infrastructure standpoint. So I think that's a difference in terms of the buyer behavior. Like you can be on TikTok Shop and rack up a bunch of sales sheerly just because this person is on live and just getting those transactions happening there. And so that's been my perspective, is the customer just wants you to come to them versus the other way around. Like me having a website and just standing it up and just waiting for those transactions to happen, it's just not happening anymore. It's where do you see it in the marketplace? Where do you see it on social? Like those things. That's the trends that I'm seeing.
So Tope, I see you nodding your head. Like, where do you see this thing going?
Yeah, I mean, they both hit the nail on the head with AI and with social. I think 5 years ago, from our standpoint with Reflekt Me, e-commerce was obsessed with prediction, right? We're trying to guess your size. We're trying to simulate your body. We're trying to approximate your fit. But prediction isn't personalization. It's very mechanical. And we have all these mechanisms now to actually use more social methods in order to help you figure out not just your fit, but your preference. The majority of returns, it's size, it's fit, it's preference. It's things that you can't just predict for someone. And so just like Sequoia was saying, there has to be this conversation. And that's why a lot of those tools kind of hit the ceiling, right? So I think that there's just this major shift now. We're moving from simulating the customer to reflecting the customer, from avatars to real humans, from guesswork to trust. So Reflekt Me, we sit squarely in this new era, this experience layer of the modern tech stack. And we don't try to guess your size. We don't try to create that avatar for you. We show you what real people who look like you are, look like actually wearing and enjoying the product. So I believe that is a really cool leap, and we've been inspired. We have some really fun, amazing updates to show to everyone soon, but we've been really inspired by a lot of what we're seeing on social media. We started off looking at our competitors and creating this modal that was, this kind of personalized dashboard of photos, and we're realizing people don't even want to click anymore. People want to scroll. They just want an image to jump at them. And so we've actually changed a lot of our user experience so that it feels so much more like social media. But just like Sequoia mentioned, it's right on our client's product page so that, their customers can get that personalized, fun, informative experience.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So you mentioned some things that founders should be doing. So I'm going to transition to that. I'm going to actually kick it to Sequoia, next. In your opinion, Sequoia, like for early stage brands, what are some of the pitfalls or things? Like, what are some things that the early stage brand founders should not be doing?
Yeah, so I think a lot of founders focus on vanity metrics, and it's how many likes can I get? How many followers can I get? And really in your earlier stages, you don't have a lot of money. You're very limited on budget. So the first thing you need to be doing is figuring out, does your customer even want what you're trying to sell? So getting in front of them, asking them, trying to really solve a problem for them. And then once you understand what that problem is, does your solution fit? Right. And with Lexore, what we do is we allow you to get in front of them very quickly. Like I was saying earlier, you don't have to go to them. They can literally be on your Instagram, in your TikTok, and vote. And then that data gets scraped and pulled back into Lexore, so you know exactly what they want. So once you understand that, then you want to build from that perspective. You cannot build on guesswork anymore. Like people essentially built before and said, hey, we're going to put out this drink and we're going to put it into the market and we're going to run a bunch of ads and then hope that they buy, right? Gone are the days. Like you have to get that feedback early, understand very clearly what your customer is responding to. And that could be anything from pricing to packaging to positioning in the market. That could be community engagement. What event do you guys want us to do next, right? And so I think about it like making your customer your co-founder. Kim Kardashian actually just talked about this. She just released a program on a platform called Masterclass, and it's really just like integrating your customer in that entire buyer journey from the feedback to execution, and then giving them exactly what they want. So yeah, for me, I think wasting your money just on marketing, just for marketing's sake, on the big parties, the launch parties, the things that really don't move the needle. You need to be maniacally obsessed with your customer and understanding that your product is the solution that they want.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Peter, I want to kick it over to you around pitfalls. And this is particularly is around like merchant scaling from a simple online storefront to more of an omni-channel operations, right? What are some of the biggest pitfalls you see in this realm?
Yeah, so I commonly see two pitfalls. First, when you're first getting set up on e-commerce, a lot of people are doing like custom coded websites. Even still, they're using things like Square and Stripe and Webflow and like WordPress / WooCommerce. And while all that stuff technically works, they're not proper native e-commerce platforms. So you're gonna have a much more cumbersome and more difficult, it's going to be very challenging to maintain and update e-commerce websites on those platforms because they're not ecosystem based the same way a SHOPLINE or a Shopify would be. So I would say at the very simplest level when getting started, the first really good decision a founder can do is choose the right platform to build on. And there are some things that you should keep in consideration when looking at a platform. You should consider your total cost of ownership for that platform. So total cost of ownership is really made up of a few components. in the sphere of an e-commerce platform. You're going to have the monthly or the annual fee for using that platform itself. So usually there's a few different tiers of pricing. So on the Shopline side, we go anywhere from $39 to $269 a month, and then you get some discounted rates when you pay annually. The other component for total cost of ownership is going to be payment processing, right? I hear a lot of brands paying pretty high rates for payment processing, around 3%, 3.1%, sometimes even more. So those are pretty high rates. Over on the Shopline side, where we have rates as low as 2.4% plus a quarter, right, per transaction, which is quite low. And in the game of margin, right, and contribution margin, profit, every basis point counts, right? If we can save you 0.5% on your payment processing, I mean, that's money that you can reinvest into ads right away. And if you're doing 2-3x ROAS, right, return on ad spend, right, that's much more than 0.5% savings right now. So the other component of lower total cost of ownership, and another main component to consider when looking at an e-commerce platform, is the app ecosystem, right? Your total cost of ownership is, it's not just the payment processing and the fee to use the platform, but all of the apps that you would use together. So you have a rich, robust user experience for your consumers that gives you a maximized conversion engine for your business. So that's apps like Lexore Spark or Reflekt Me, right? Which are available on Shopify, right? SHOPLINE and other things. So these are the three components for lower total cost of ownership. And so that's one of the spaces that SHOPLINE really wins on. And the way we've been able to do that is we have over 100 native apps. So out of the box, you get a lot more of what you need. And so when you look at the third-party apps that you need, right, like Lexore Spark, like Reflekt Me, there are some brands that have had over 50 apps. When you use a platform like SHOPLINE, where we have over 100 of our own native apps, and out of the box, you can have a lot of what you need. What that means is you don't need to subscribe to such a high number of third-party apps. Every third-party app is going to come with its own subscription. It can be a monthly subscription rate. If it's something like a subscription tool or an email marketing tool, those are usage based, right? So the more you use it, the higher volume of usage, the more you pay, right? So that's just one angle from it. From an omni-channel perspective, one of the big pitfalls is not really understanding the full go-to-market scenario around this new channel, right? So let's say you're primarily selling on your website. Right now, you want to go into Amazon. Okay, to be successful on Amazon, like it's a whole separate business, right? And then when you look at, okay, well, now I want to go into in-store physical retail, right? Either mom and pop shops or like the big box chain stores, right? Whether you're a CPG and you're going after grocery, or you're a consumer electronic and you want to be in Best Buy. All right, getting onto the shelf of those, that's the starting point for the retail journey. That's not where it ends, right? You have to drive sell-through in retail. It's not the retailer's job to sell your product. It's your product and your brand's job to sell the product. And it's the retailer's job to have it on the shelf. So when customers walk in and they know about your brand and they see it on the shelf, your brand sells itself. And so that's heavily relying on the packaging. The packaging is your silent salesman. So when you do retail, you have to be super mindful about investing into sell-through, right? Marketing activities for selling through retailers, about your packaging, right? About the post-purchase experience, because when somebody buys through retail, you don't know who they are. You don't know the end customer, right? Just like on Amazon, somebody buys it on Amazon, you don't know who is your customer. So with retail on Amazon, those are kind of the two main pitfalls. You're going to be paying high prices to market through them. and also high prices for like commissions and, you know, platform fees and such. And like really the real downer is you don't get the customer data. So there's no opportunity for you to do any retention or win back or any of these things, birthday offers, right? All that stuff goes out the window. So it becomes not a cannibalized sort of thing. There's ways to balance all of the different channels between Amazon, e-commerce, right, retail, social commerce, and everything, where it's much more cohesive. But ultimately, you're going to find when you're omni-channel that you make different profit margins in different channels, right? And so your pricing strategy has to be, inclusive of all of your sales channels. And so when you run promotions here, right, you're not destroying the channel over here, right? If you run a sale on Amazon, what does that do to your in-store? What does that do to your website? If you have the lowest price on your website, well, what does that do to your Amazon listing, right? So it's a little bit complicated for being omni-channel, and I think a lot of brands try to do too much too soon, and they're doing it with like the level 1 playbook, right? Because the higher level playbooks just require more resources, more scale. So sometimes it's a chicken and egg thing, but you got to start somewhere. So it's just really doing your homework and making sure you got your ducks in a row and you're going to market in a mindful way. I'll stop there.
No, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Touched on a lot of things. And so actually I want to take a question from the audience. And so actually, Sequoia, I'm going to come to you on this one, at least first, and anybody else can hop in. At the end of the day, how do brands stand out, right? That's what they're. And thank you, McLean, for the question. You know, how do Sequoia, how do you, any thoughts on how do you get brands to stop and look at you, considering all they're looking to do is really scroll?
Yeah. So I think what's interesting about AI, again, it's infrastructure, right? So I think what actually makes your brand stand out is being engaging with your customer. And I keep going to TikTok Shop, maybe because I just live on there. I don't know. But like the brands that stick out to me are the ones that are talking directly to me. So, TMI, but I just bought a pair of tights on TikTok Shop. And the reason why is because I was scrolling, I saw the tights. The girl was talking. I asked her, I was like, I'm 5'6", 100, and that's none of y'all business. But yes, what size am I supposed to be? And she told me. And so right then and there, I purchased, right? So I think if you can be in front of your customer and you can engage with your customer and get their questions answered as quickly as possible, that's how you make conversion. So it's still about connection. Like we AI this, AI that, but at the end of the day, you still have to have trust, and that trust needs to be built through communication and connection. So I think that's how brands stand out.
I love it. Actually, so Pei, on that note, I want to kick it over to you. So she mentioned personalization essentially, right? So from your perspective, how does personalization impact conversion, return rates, and where do brands kind of get it wrong as it relates to personalization?
Yeah, that's a great question. And thank you, McLean, for that. Exactly like we were discussing earlier with connecting to your customers, customers can also be creators, with the right tools. And exactly like Peter was saying, you don't want to get bogged down with a whole bunch of tools that aren't speaking together, that aren't giving you the information that you need. So when you're thinking about personalization and when you're thinking about returns and engagement and conversion, the biggest thing, Sequoia said it hilariously, I wish I was as funny as Sequoia, it's trust. So most returns happen because shoppers can't answer one simple question, will this work for me? If you remove the guesswork, then you remove the return. So these traditional product pages, they show, sort of one body type, or they show a floating product in an ether of white. And so there's this imagination gap that's responsible for billions in return costs every year. So when you look at personalization, you want to look at, the confidence, like you're showing the product, you're showing it being used exactly like Sequoia was saying. It's this web 2.0. You have a little video, and that's that's why people love TikTok Shop. And that's why Reflekt Me is trying to bring that exact experience to every single page, whether it's your Shopify page, whether it's your SHOPLINE page, right? We want, for our enterprise clients, we want you to be able to have that level of trust, that level of 2.0. You can put videos and talk to your clients right there, so they're not hopping somewhere else to try to get that content from you. We find that so many clients, they have amazing content just spread all over the place, all over across different channels, and they don't have any way to put that directly on their product page. So that's what we love about it. It's that personalization kind of mixed with gamification. And then, you want to be inclusive of your customers. I've found that some potential clients, they will have an amazing story behind their product, and their products are all about, being kind of outside the norm, or really leaning into their authenticity and their individuality. But then they use the same playbook of using 5-10 size 4 models that all look similar. And so, really listening to your customers, exactly as Sequoia said, being inclusive of the different segments, their intersectionality. I believe that H&M does a good job of this. One of my favorite designers, Andrea Yama, she does this as well. But look at that intersectionality, different abilities, different generations, all vibing under this, what we call it, here I am getting nerdy. I always get so nerdy, but, you want to look at segmentation in terms of attitudinal. What are shared attitudes? What are shared behaviors? What are shared ideologies? And how can you personalize those intersectionally, with all these different types of people? Yes, I am a millennial, Black, Christian, woman, mom, all these different things, right? But I share attitudes and I share ideologies with people who have different religions, or don't have children, or aren't women, right? And so seeing that and having your customers see that you understand them, and that community sense, that community generated content that's a part of your personalization, is so important. And so I would say that just making sure that it's fun, that it's people trust it, that it's real images, and that you're showing your product in all its glory, all the aha moments, how it lathers, really speaking towards a tribe of people, as Seth Godin would say.
I love it. And just so super quick, as we kind of reset the room, this is the Inside the Modern Commerce Tech Stack, featuring SHOPLINE, Lexore Spark, and Reflekt Me. And for those watching live here, you can drop a question to the speakers here in whatever platform you're actually watching from. We're multi-channel here at Goodie Nation. I want to shift gears a little bit to Sequoia to talk a little bit more about your area expertise. You kind of alluded to some of this already, right? But many brands kind of rely on intuition when it comes to developing their product, right? Talk to us about how, AI native customer intelligence replaces guesswork when it comes to product development and also marketing.
Yeah, so we allow you to do it at scale. So instead of you going and you're asking your customers, previously, many people didn't ask their customer. When we started doing customer discovery for Lexore, we were asking brands, hey, how are you getting feedback from your customers? And they're like, we're not. And so for us, it was like, all right, not only are they not thinking about getting feedback, but if they were to get feedback, they need to be able to see all this feedback in one location. And so what we did was we said, all right, first things first, let's start getting feedback. Like, even if it's the minimal, putting a poll up on Instagram or TikTok just to see, or answering your comments, that's feedback too, right? But now you have all this data. Now, how do you see it all in one location? So instead of, I'm commenting and then I have to remember that Keisha from Arizona liked, sweet tea. Like, it's so much data. How do I remember all of that data? So what we allow you to do is pull that data into one location so that you can see it in real time. You can see what those comments were. You can see a summary of those comments. You can see how many people said the same thing. So pretty clearly what you should be activating on. So that's the biggest thing for a tool like Lexore, is you're not necessarily just getting the data once you start getting the data, but you can actually collate that data into a larger data set. So when you're looking at it, you can see everything from Instagram to TikTok. You can get emails sent out where you can actually give polls and then see all that data so that you know, instead of, hey, 30,000 people said this, it's like, all right, this is what I need to do to activate on it. So we should probably be thinking about strawberry soda as our next release or whatever your product is. And so I think that is the biggest way to kind of get away from that, oh, I'm thinking we should create this and are testing it on the smaller scale. It's as you start to scale up, how do you continue to maintain that same personalization that you would have to do if you were doing it as one-to-one to a customer?
Amazing. And on that note, so that was an amazing description of the product. Actually, Sequoia, do you have any examples? How do people get set up or
Yeah. We made it super easy. So we just did a whole revamp of our platform because, again, speed to market. So speed to solution. So literally when you log on Lexore, you can put your website in it. It will scrape your website and tell you very clearly what you should start testing. Like, it's very simple to get started, right? One of our examples that I absolutely love is a product called Liquid Fuels. So they actually went to market and they were generating revenue. So we're not just for the brand who doesn't have a product in the market. We're for the brand who actually does have a product in the market. They want to keep that relationship current with their customer. So he had customers and he was selling, but he was like, I just don't know who is buying. Like, who are these customers? And he ended up doing a survey. Now, backstory, this man had worked at Sprouts, like all the retailers. He had access to spins reports. He had access to all this very rich data from an enterprise level, but there was nothing for the SMB, like the small business, right? And so when he used Lexore, he was like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, I can see very clearly who the customer is that I need to serve and then what we need to give them. So he realized that he has a performance-based energy drink, that his customer segment was parents of youth athletes. Like, that's wildly specific. And so with him understanding that, he was like, all right, great. We're going to get more influencers who are these youth athletes, and we're going to go after that target market. And he was able to reduce his COGS, his cost of goods, because he knew very specifically who that core ICP was.
I love it. Tope, I want to kick it over to you, and then Pete, like, just super quick, Tope, like, how does your product work? Want to come and give us like a verbal demo?
Yeah. So what we do is that brands can take their content, their real pictures, whether it's a campaign that they do with employees to take pictures in their clothing or using their hair products, whether it's a campaign that they do with their customers, which has worked really well. When we first started off, one of our first clients was a t-shirt shop, and it was called A Dope Heart. And she actually did a campaign with her customers to take a picture in the clothes that they had bought from her. So she put it on social media. Her social media, everyone was so excited about seeing pictures of themselves in the clothes. And then actually on her website, they could click each size and see a real person in the clothes. And as we're talking to her customers, they're I'm trying not to use nerdy terms like locus of self-control and all that sort of thing, but their love of themselves and their own image across all the sizes went up because they were asked to represent a brand that they loved, that they were on the main site, that they could be seen. And then her sales lift went up 4 times, because if you're buying t-shirts for a group, like let's say your parents, right, buying an energy drink and you're buying shirts for the team, you can actually see what the different sizes look like on the pictures of people to buy the right size, especially when you're a smaller brand that isn't everywhere. Everyone doesn't really know which size to buy. There's a 4-inch size difference across most brands because it's not standardized, especially if you're, and then if you're moving from that small client to, the billion-dollar clients, like working with Levi's in the US and Europe, they're manufactured in different places. You want to, size down with lighter colors and size up with darker colors. And that's information that you can't just bombard someone with on a size chart, but they can actually see when they click a see it in my size button. That's call to action. Modal pops out and you click the sizes and you can actually see a person in a full look. So what actually helps our clients as well, exactly to Sequoia's point, is that we were told, by our clients that they don't know how people want to wear their clothes, right? they can't predict that. They can't use a lot of algorithms for that. But when people are providing content, it's like themselves as a brand, they've never seen every size of person in their clothes because they're using fit models and they're using micrograding and they're using all these things to make these higher sizes. So when the brand can actually see what their clothes look like across different sizes, and then different generations of people and people across the world are showing them how they want to wear the clothes, that's really what made TikTok blow up in a lot of ways as well, is that people were showing brands how they wanted to wear their product with this short form video content. And so we allow brands to have that in-house and a back-end platform that anyone across the organization can use operationally, but then also for the customer, it is a huge boom. I mean, we knew this research wise, but to actually see that we were increasing their sales conversion 75% was beautiful. To see the add to cart go up 70%, because you're seeing someone who is your exact size wearing a full outfit that looks perfect on them. You're going to put all that in the cart, right? But then people want to see, I took this from a case study on American Girl dolls. People want a mirror, but they also want a window. They get really excited clicking all the different sizes and seeing all these people from different countries and, you know, you wearing the clothes different ways and getting excited about that. But they're all on your site and it's all your clothing. So it's not like a scrape that you would see with like competitors where they may have on another competitor's shirt or another competitor's jacket with your clothes. And then with hair products, we've just recently gotten into hair products with Wrap-A-Lock and launching soon with Puff Cuff, where different textures of hair, or as we know, ladies, how you've done your hair that day, you can see how the product will work. When my hair is like straighter, or when it's a kinkier texture, how is this like puff cuff going to hold my hair? What is the style going to look like? So you can do all that on the site, and that helps our clients as well, because it's hard for them sometimes to tell customers you can buy more than one size. Like with Wrap-A-Lock, if you have long locks or you have short locks, you can use that same tool and it'll just do a different style. But that can be really hard to explain. But if someone's sitting there being entertained and feeling like you're speaking to them and they're being seen and they're being recognized, they're going to engage with all of that content. I mean, we've seen up to 8 minutes just on a product page, excited with over 1 million data points. You know, we're seeing like they're just excited on your site for this product. So they get really inspired. I know, I get excited. Can I just talk an hour about like clients and Reflekt Me?
That's all. It's all good. And Shelby Austin here is like, go ahead and use the big words, right? So go ahead and use it. Peter, you want to just quickly share about how, you know, how SHOPLINE works? I'm gonna do a virtual demo, and then I do have another question for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So pretty standard, you know, e-commerce platform in the sense that you would expect it to be, right? You make an account, you have a drag and drop website builder. We have different components pre-built, so you don't need to do a lot of custom coding or anything to customize your websites. You have options to adjust the banner colors and all these different things. So it's a really intuitive and kind of ease of use kind of a platform to create websites, maintain and update websites. There's the App Store, so you can go into the App Store, find all sorts of different tools like apps for your reviews, for your subscriptions. You'll find Lexore Spark to do, you know, consumer insights, right? All these different things. So we have all the components to do what you need to do online. So when you're doing social commerce, right? Sequoia is talking a lot about TikTok Shop, right? Rightfully so. It's huge, right? A brand should absolutely be selling on TikTok Shop. So SHOPLINE as a platform, we actually come out of originally out of the Asian PAC region. So in that community, in that region, social commerce is much more developed and much more mainstream than it currently is in the US. So if you think it's big in the US, right, it has massive growth potential, even more than what it is right now. So it's really good to be on there. And so SHOPLINE as a platform and having those roots in the APAC region where social commerce is much bigger, we have features for social commerce that will help you do those things. And that's one of our differentiators from other platforms. If you're a brand that is leaning heavy on content creation, and social commerce, Shopline is a better platform for you, right? So these are just some of the things that we're able to do. And with partners, we're able to do other markets as well. So, right, one of the new verticals that we've expanded into, I just came back from MJ BizCon in Las Vegas. That's like a big CBD and hemp, industry event. And so with regulated payment processing and some new features and some new front end themes, we're now able to support a compliant and regulatory type of company. Other verticals in that sphere would be like alcohol, right? So there's a lot of cool beverage brands that are doing all sorts of different, vodka sodas, adding some functional wellness stuff in there. And so they need special distribution, they need special payment processing. And so we have all of these tools and partners and foundations to be able to offer, to be a platform, a proper home for all these different brands.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So we have a few minutes left. We just had some really good questions coming in, especially from April Roy here. Sequoia, I'm going to kick it over to you, and then we're going to have some further questions and some closing remarks. So I'm going to try to simplify the question, at least read it out for everyone else here that's watching. The questions around, are there any AI tools that brands can leverage to increase their brand awareness, particularly for a small brand like it's going to be on Walmart shelves in 2026? So I kind of try to narrow it down a little bit, but I think, Sequoia, you've seen the entire question.
Yeah. So April, I think it's about think about AI as infrastructure and not necessarily to push that awareness from high level. So I would be very cognizant of where those rollouts are happening. So what cities, what markets, and how do you get in front of those cities and markets? And that could even be from a traditional marketing standpoint. AI doesn't necessarily need to be implemented every single time. So how do you do very creative things, pop-ups in those markets? Think about AI as half, infrastructure, and then you have to have those IRL experiences. So think about maybe a pop-up in that market where you can do something fun with your customers who are already a part of your community. So I wouldn't necessarily lean too much on AI from that perspective, because what you don't want to happen is this large scale rollout where you're in all these Walmarts and you don't have enough brand awareness, right? So wherever those markets are, focus on those markets, find out what customers you have in those communities and how you can do things that are IRL within that particular market. And then that'll keep that community engaged and wanting to connect with you. You can use Lexore to engage with them from a community standpoint. And let's just say you do a pop-up and ask them, hey, from what's in Walmart right now, what are you guys liking? What flavor do you guys like? Or what, I don't know what your product is, but what do you guys like specifically about the product, so that you have the data? But that's not necessarily a AI implementation from the consumer side. It's more data for you, but from the consumer side, you want to engage them, be in their face, connect with them, have experiences, because they're going to walk away remembering who you are, and that's how you're going to stay relevant in their minds.
Nice. And Tupper, you want to answer this as well?
Yes, yeah, I'll be brief though. Yeah, exactly what Sequoia said. My background is in consumer insights for Fortune 500s and actually for government agencies. So exactly that. I was trying to look you up, April. I think it's FIMPAC for periods. But when people are in the store and they see your product, immediately they're going to look it up because they've never, they may not have seen you before. And so what do they see when they look you up? Are you going to gain that customer? Are you going to lose them because they don't see themselves reflected, right? Or they don't see their problem, or, as we mentioned before, that intersection of their attitudes and ideals, is that reflected to them when they look up your product? And so that's where, at scale, kind of bringing in real people or those micro influencers, or like the example that Sequoia gave, understanding who loves your product and finding ways to push their needs and their solutions when people look you up on their site. So making sure that you have a lot of that video content and that you are showing a lot of different people who have the same pain point so that they feel like they are a part of a community. That community turns into customers. So that's what I would say as well, is that, AI is awesome. We need that. I always say we need to cyborg it and always have that humanity component into it as well.
Love it. I love it. So, okay, in the last few minutes that we have, and I really have one more question, and this is about the future, right? We didn't get a chance to get to a lot today. Great questions from the audience. We had a bunch of other questions lined up. Let's zoom out and think to the future, right? So it's rapid for everybody here, and I'll start with Peter. The question is around, what do you think is going to emerge from a technology perspective for these type of brands over the next few years? Here's the reason why I ask. I'm like Luke Skywalker from Star Wars, right? I'm always looking to the future. Like Yoda's like, do not look to the future, stay in the moment, right? I just keep on looking to the future, right? That's me. And so I do want people I want brands to be aware of what's coming down the pike so that they can, again, make the proper decisions, right? And so, Peter, what do you think is going to emerge over the next few years?
Yeah. Well, I guess I got to just start with the obvious one and just like the agentic checkout, right? Just simply going into ChatGPT saying, I need an air purifier, right? Arming it with your credit card, and it will do the research. It'll stay within your budget. It'll pick one, it'll order it, and it'll get delivered to your house, right? And you did nothing but demand ChatGPT to take care of it for you, right? So that's definitely one angle of it, but then there's many other tools and part of the experiences that are going to be revolutionized. So one of them is also customer support automation, right? So currently, right, the chat bots, I mean, they're pretty awful, right? I mean, I spam representative right when I join one, right? I don't want to talk to the bot because at the end of the day, they're just like referencing an FAQ and only able to kind of address like the most simple base case of situations without really executing on solutions. They're really just basic information delivery services. And so what the next gen of like a true AI customer support system looks like, it's one that's not only connected to all of the messaging and the front end to engage with customers, but also the back end to fully execute on the needs for that customer. So if it's, I just ordered a product and I accidentally, right, sent it to my sister's house, and I want to update the address to my house, right, it should be able to be done by the AI. It shouldn't flag it to a human to then go into the back end and update the shipping address. So that's one of the things that's already here. Okay. And one of the partners that we're working with on that is called Codif. Their tech team is actually the team that built out the first automated customer support system for Uber. So you have a problem on Uber and you go in and you select all the menu options in the help support section, and then you just get refunded automatically, right? So that's what automated customer support looks like. And now it's here for e-commerce, right? So that's super cool. Then you have things like spatial commerce, right? Which is all the AR, VR type of thing. So I don't know how many people really have like an Apple Vision Pro or like, the Meta Quest headsets, but that's definitely like a new frontier for e-commerce. And so now brands not only have to display their products on a regular product display page on a traditional website in 2D, but now they need to do 3D. They need fully virtual 360 spinning exact replicas of all of their products, right, for their website, and also available in those virtual environments in VR, right? So that's another thing that's kind of on the agenda. And then the third one that I think is going to be super important is something that really stitches things together for omni-channel brands. So how do you truly connect the online and the offline sales channels, right, and the experience? So when I walk into a Best Buy and I see your brand, your product on the shelf, what type of digital experience can I engage in when I'm in that store to learn about your brand, to be nurtured, and help me convert, because it's not likely that I'm gonna go up to like a Best Buy worker and ask him about this product and they're gonna know all the things about that product, right? Because Best Buy carries thousands of products. So the knowledge, the employees' knowledge about certain products is going to be very limited. And so that's the other thing, is how do you have a system that can drive traffic to the retailer once they're in there, right? Help them sell it, right? And then once they've bought it, bring them back into your sphere. So that way you have the customer data, you can work on retention, and you can support their purchase, right? So if you don't have part of the packaging, like ways to QR code scan, watch a video on how to onboard and set this up, you're going to have high returns. So you really need to have something that connects all of these things together for you. So those are kind of just 3 examples of next gen stuff that I think is going to be really helpful.
Nice. Sequoia, I want to kick it over to you. Like, just one prediction, or like, what do you think is going to come down the pike? And then also, if you could say, like, how can people get in contact with you?
Yeah, so I think the future is going to be hyper personalized. And when I say that, I don't just mean the product personalized to you, but the experience itself. So recently I just watched this TikTok video. A woman, Maggie Sellers-Ream, she got a 7-figure deal with Stephen Bartlett. And one of the products, a brand sent her a gifting package. And in that gifting package, it was things that was very personal to her. So like her grandfather had passed. So something that referenced that. So they're going to know like your wedding dates, your spouse's information. If someone passes in your life, your birthday, like all these major events that would emotionally trigger you to keep you connected back to that product, right? Because if you think about it, the way we purchase is emotional. So how do I give you that experience so that when you think about that experience in your mind, it draws you back to my product? So I think that's going to be the future of commerce. The way that you can connect with me is I'm on LinkedIn all the time. I'm Sequoia Blodgett and across other socials. And then, of course, our platform is Lexore Spark. So that's LEXORE.ai.
Amazing. To you, Tope. Yeah, one thing you think is going to happen moving forward, and how can people get in contact with you?
Yes. Well, this is the worst panel to go last in because everything was hit, from the hyper-personalization to spatial commerce. I think there's going to be more of a push to customer-led creation, really finding more and more avenues technologically to see what customers want you to create. I mean, that fits within the hyper-personalization as well. And I think that we are seeing more, exactly to Sequoia's point, exactly Peter's point, that more and more customers have avenues to reach their brands. And so as we're listening to them more, so I came in, I'm older than I look, but I came in at a time when, we still had insights companies going through people's trash to see how many diapers they use, right? Like things like that, to try to really understand how to put products together, how to package things, how to sell them for people. And so, but then we got into big data, and that's when they started to bring us PhDs in. So
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Sorry about that. Yes, you can find me on LinkedIn, Tope Mitchell, PhD.
Super quick, you want to say how people can get in contact with you, and as we close out in the 2 minutes we have left, is it possible you share a little bit more about the grant opportunity we have with you all?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the comments, I just dropped all the LinkedIn links for Dr. Tope, Sequoia, and myself. So feel free to connect with all of us. And for all of the brand founders on this call today, we have a grant program in place with Goodie Nation for product brands. So if you are a product brand and you are on an e-commerce platform, we want to talk with you. We want to show you the SHOPLINE platform. We'd love to understand, what does your tech stack look like? And does our platform, does our ecosystem provide value to you? And if it does, we would like to discuss a cash grant package for you. So that is real money, wired to your bank account. Okay, so it's not platform credits or anything like that, actual money, and that will cover the costs of a migration from whatever platform you are to SHOPLINE. So these grants range in size anywhere from 10K up to 50K. And part of that incentive package, actually, you'll get credits to use Lexore Spark. So it's a nice combo deal for you to come in, get a fully funded migration package, run white glove by the experts from our team. So it's going to be very low lift from you. We'll have a whole team as well as a data migration tool to use. So we bring over all of your product data, your order data, your customer data. We redesign your website using a theme on SHOPLINE. So it's pretty low lift in general. But we do need your collaboration to work with us through that process. So that's what we have to offer here today, and really excited to dive into that with anyone that's interested.
Awesome. And so we just dropped the link to that, to more information on it with the application in chat there. But anybody else, you can go to our website at Goodie Nation. Under programming, you'll see something that says like next generation D2C grants with SHOPLINE. So just go to goodienation.org. Excuse me. You could also reach out to me personally on LinkedIn, Joey Womack. And then you could also just hit the contact us button here at Goodie Nation as well. So this has been amazing. I think everybody got better today. We learned a little bit more. I want to say thank you to Tope, Sequoia, and Peter for an amazing session. Everyone, please follow up with them on LinkedIn or the channels in which they said they can reach out. You can find them at. And let's outwork yesterday, y'all. Outwork yesterday. Peace out.
Thanks, everyone.